If this is your first attempt at making a cabinet either for a kitchen or a built-in, let me show you the fastest way to get that project done. There are many different techniques used today to build cabinets, and some of them may require more tools than you may have. Therefore, we're going to keep things really simple today by using as few power tools as possible, making all simple straight cuts, and assembling almost everything with Kreg screws. What we're building today is known as a base cabinet, meaning that it's designed to sit on the floor and oftentimes be attached to a wall. It measures 25 inches wide by 37 inches tall by 18 inches deep, and it's sized to fit into the corner of my shop where I'll be able to store all my paint cans that would otherwise be disorganized. The base cabinet is also made with a toe kick cutout so that when you're standing close to the cabinet, your toes don't hit. However, if you're making built-ins like what I have in my office, you may not need or like the look of a toe kick. And if that's the case, I'll show you what not to cut to make that happen. To get started, cut both cabinet sides to your desired width and height. The material I'm using here is 3/4 inch paint grade cabinet plywood. Because the bottom shelf and 3 support pieces fit in between the sides, their length, or width depending on how you look at it, is 1.5 inches shorter than a cabinet's overall width. The support pieces are all 3 inches wide, and the bottom shelf stops short of the back by 1/2 inch, and you'll see why later. With the support pieces and bottom shelf cut to the correct size, it's time to move on to the layout. When it comes to laying everything out, it's really important to mark the fronts, then book match the 2 side pieces like this. It's important to book match the sides for 2 reasons. First, you can keep track of the good side if you have one, or if you're using a pre-finished plywood that only has the finish on one side. The second reason is because it's very easy to make a mistake and make 2 rights or 2 lefts, and then when you go to put everything together, surprise! Moving on, the first thing to lay out is the right side toe kick. The most common size is 3 inches in from the face and 3 to 4 inches in height. And here's a perfect example of how easy it would be to jump over to the left panel and lay out its toe kick in the same location. But if you were to do that, once you book match these sides, you can see that the toe kick on the left panel would now be on the back side of the cabinet. So bottom line, lay out one side first and then the next, and then book match the sides to verify that you got it right. The bottom shelf sits right at the top of the toe kick, and I like to make a mark with a framing square so I can get a good visual on its location. To lay out for the support rails, measure from the back of the cabinet in 1/2 inch. Then draw a line down a few inches and then transfer that same line to the top as well. This line represents the back of both rear support rails and the edge of the 1/4 inch dado, which holds the back panel. The other support rail gets laid out tight to the cabinet top and face. As I mentioned before, the back panel sits in a 1/4 inch dado and runs the whole way down the back of the cabinet. Now that the right side is all laid out, transfer those marks over to the left panel, making a perfect book match set. With that done, it's time to cut out the toe kicks and mill the 1/4 inch dados. As a side note, if you're making cabinets like I have in my office, you can go ahead and skip cutting out the toe kicks here and move right into milling the 1/4 inch dado. At the table saw, I'll make all the straight cuts for the toe kicks, being sure not to overcut beyond the pencil lines. Then finish them with a jigsaw or a handsaw. Now lower your table saw blade down to about 1/4 inch with the side panel facing down and its back against the fence. Line up the blade with the 1/2 inch mark and run both panels through. Next, grab a scrap of plywood and run that through, as this will be your test piece. Adjust the fence so that the next pass removes enough material so that the plywood panel fits into the groove. You may need to make a few micro adjustments to get a perfect fit, and that's okay. Once you're satisfied, run both pieces through. With that done, it's time to drill out for all the pocket holes. For this cabinet, there are 4 holes on each side of the bottom shelf, 2 on each end of the support rails, and I've also added 2 more on the back support rail to fasten it up tight to the other rail. To assemble, put the cabinet face down on a flat table and locate the bottom shelf tight to the face of the cabinet, leaving it short in the back so that the plywood can pass by. Using a few clamps to hold the bottom shelf firmly into position, secure it with glue and screws. From there, remove the clamps and spin the cabinet so you can now work on the top support pieces. With those clamped in place, fasten them to the cabinet sides. To get the measurements for the width and the height of the back panel, measure from the inside right dado to the inside left dado, and then deduct about 1/8 inch. To get the height, measure from the bottom shelf to the top of the cabinet. To install the panel, slide it into the dado until it's flush with the top and flush with the bottom shelf. Before you fasten the back panel to the support rail and to the bottom shelf, use a framing square or measure diagonals to ensure that the cabinet is square. Once square, fasten with small finish nails, brads, or screws. So at this point there's two options. You can apply an edge banding to cover the plywood edges, or you can build a simple face frame and Kreg screw it all together. Either way you go, you're going to need to build some doors for your cabinet, and if you need some help with that, I'll leave my video right here so you can watch that now. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments section. God bless. I hope everybody's well. See you next week.